and hand over to Giannis and Nikoleta.
I will share my screen now. Just a moment, please. Come on. Perfect. So, good morning from us. My name is Giannis Charalampopoulos. I'm a student in the Technical University of Crete of School of Environmental Engineering. And today with Nikoleta, we'll have a short presentation about our experience from SAFES 2. Nikoleta, you can say also hello.
Hello, my name is Nikoleta, and I have been a SAFES 2 ambassador for about 2 years. I've been studying architecture in Technical University of Crete, and I'm currently doing my Erasmus internship in London.
So, we'll begin the presentation. Nikoleta?
I became a SAFES 2 ambassador because I want to encourage more people to care about saving energy and the environment, to learn more about saving energy myself, and eventually make a difference, however small it may be.
So also I got involved in the program of SAFES 2 because it's important to learn about researches, because as an engineers that we are, it's important to learn about researches and how can we make our own research. Also to encourage people to care more about saving energy, because today, as you know, a lot of people are not here to save energy, and we have a lot of problems that cause about from it. And also to listen different opinions about energy from the members, because when we have to take a decision, we discuss each other, we share our opinions, and you know, it's good to agree or disagree with the other, so to make a better decision to come out.
What I personally enjoyed more about this experience is participating in events where we had the chance to both learn and inform our fellow students about important matters. I was also able to socialize with people with similar values, people who care about the environment and want to make a difference. I was happy to see people engaging in our events, researches, and competitions too. In fact, the photo in this slide was submitted by a student for a photo contest our team held.
So, I enjoyed to making research from the program because it's good, you know, to have the result in front of you. Also to inform people to care about energy and environment, because as a student of environmental engineering, it's important for me to inform people to care about energy and give them, as I say below, advice to people from saving energy at their homes, because it's very important nowadays to save energy and, you know, to pay less money than before.
Having students volunteering is very important to spread the environmental consciousness, to make it easier to communicate with the student community, since students can understand each other better, and to enrich the program with different perspectives and ideas.
Also, it's important to have students volunteers because they give them the chance to develop their skills and their work experience, because as students, it's important to have a little work experience so we can have an idea of the work that we'll have in the future. So we must be ready for this, and also to give them the opportunity to explore other interests, because in the age of the studies, not a lot of students have explored their interests, and this is a chance to make them more, we think.
Finally, the benefits of students, the benefits of the campaigns, Students Switch Off and Students Switch Off Plus on the student community are significant. They create environmental awareness and opportunities to learn, to participate in activities as well as socialize. They also make students' lives easier by helping them save money through saving energy.
Also, the benefits are that, as we said, making students' life easier and inform them quickly for new problems or solutions, because, you know, in the student community, to have students ambassadors to inform them, it's more quickly and more easier, you know, for the ambassadors of the program to, you know, to share our solutions or problems that we have to face in our community. So that's all. Thank you very much for
Yeah,
your time.
thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Giannis and Nikoleta. Really great to have you here today, our real life participants. So that concludes our formal part of the webinar today. We're about 10 minutes ahead of schedule, which is great. So the next part will be a Q&A. So before we get to that, I just want to say a big thank you to Nina, Jade, Vasilis, Nikoleta, Giannis, Rachel, and Dave for the really interesting sessions. And thanks, Laura, for putting all those questions into the chat if they were sent directly to us. So where shall we start? There are a couple of different questions. So the first one is from Tatiana. And it says, do you plan to disseminate the good practices and results among incoming international students? And if yes, what kind of specific measures and initiatives are envisaged by each participating university? I can start with that question and perhaps pass over to a couple of you in the panel. We have set up legacy plans for each of the different countries. So one for Bulgaria, Cyprus, Romania, Lithuania, UK, and Ireland, where we've put down ways in which we can continue with the project without funding. So in the UK, we have moved to a self-funded model where universities who wish to continue to participate pay us a small fee for us to kind of pay our basically dormitory coordinators to run this project on the ground. So we're continuing to disseminate kind of all these kind of practices to our students in the UK. In other universities across Europe, it is a patchwork of different approaches depending kind of on the internal funding that they have. I can pass over to Vasilis in a minute if you want to say something, but in a number of them, it's more of a stripped down campaign, which is perhaps more awareness raising based on the information, the kind of resources that we created as part of the project, rather than a lot of in-depth engagement that we have run simply because of the human resource available. But we have all the resources uploaded on all our country websites. They are available for any students, unions, organizations to use kind of going forward. Vasilis, I don't know, is there anything you want to say from the NKUA perspective about it going forward?
Thank you, Joanna. Definitely, yes. We're going to keep on disseminating the good practices and the results, research results and all that stuff from SAVES2. For sure, our social media will be alive for the next 2 years or something. And we also integrated the good practices from SAVES2 in our education program, in our courses. And this is something that it is very effective. And as far as I know, another colleague of us, Ms. Magdalena, also from the University of Bucharest, has also integrated the findings of SAVES2 in their courses. So yes, our results will be alive in the next years. Our dissemination will continue, and we're very happy for this. And this is something that we are very willing to do. Maybe Rachel or someone else would like to jump in this question.
I think Joanna, you gave a good overview of our plans for the UK.
Thank you for that. Thanks, Vasilis. So there are a few more questions. There's one for Jade and Vasilis from Dedislava. So it said, you said you managed to engage thousands of students in surveys and focus group activities. Could you please share your experience with recruiting students to take part in these activities? So that's one part. And the second part is, how did you reach them? What channels did you use? And did you have any specific recruitment strategy?
Okay. Yeah, so I think a lot of this was probably then covered in Rachel's presentation, but for us, the real key thing was to utilize those trusted sources of information. So making sure that we're disseminating information to our students via people that they know well and they trust. So we had used student unions, we went through academic departments, accommodation departments, and really on the ground, our key contacts for each country just put in huge amounts of effort to make sure that we reached our students in as many ways as possible. So we utilized all of the communication channels that were out there and worked out which ones were most applicable and worked best per campus. So we did things like looking at social media, and we did use social media as a really kind of key element because we know that that is a really great way to engage young people at universities. We looked at email communications and making sure that we really built relationships up with the people who we knew could reach students through emails. And also we just did huge amounts of on the ground kind of face-to-face work. So any student events, people would have a stall there or would be able to kind of talk to students and give out leaflets. We had our key contacts going and doing radio shows, if that was going to reach students, writing blogs, newsletters, just going on campus and talking directly to students. And kind of through all this real mix of different kind of communication channels, we found that over time we would like continuously building up our communication routes and the number of students that we were engaging with.
Thanks, Jade.
And I think, oh, sorry.
I was going to say, it's definitely, we have to be honest and say it was hard work to kind of build those lists and get all those students engaged. Rachel, sorry.
As our survey did have a prize for an incentive for the survey, so that was quite key. It wasn't a big prize, but it was built into our funding as a prize for the survey, which I think was very useful in the getting people to take part.
Yeah, that definitely always helps. Vasilis, do you have anything else to add in your M&E hat?
I would add that the incentives that we gave, either there was money or some electronic devices, was very helpful to reach all these people for at least for the surveys or focus groups, because it was really hard to reach the number of students that were required to take part in the survey. So to have meaningful results as we had. This is my part. This is what I'm thinking on that. Incentives was the key point, and of course, my colleagues and the whole team good communication skills.
Thank you for that, Vasilis. It's also important to say that when we did this research, we tried to ensure that it's completely unbiased. So it wasn't, this is an environmental research. This is because they would have biased results. So it was basically about kind of a lifestyle survey and lifestyle research, that's what we called it. The one bit that probably is worth mentioning as well, that what we found particularly really, really hard was engaging with landlords. So we did have some landlord focus groups and some landlord surveys, but those were extremely hard, an extremely hard group to engage with. And part of it perhaps is that we don't perhaps have this really trusted relationship. That could have been a big part of it. But we did manage to get some numbers, which was presented through Vasilis. Okay, I'm going to move on now to a question from Neil, who says, during Dave's presentation, given the high percentage of students aware of smart meters due to student switch off, do you have any future plans for engagement organizations responsible for smart meter rollout in different countries? I'm going to pass it to you, Jade. You okay with that?
Yeah, so part of the project was to try and link up with any smart meter organizations per country where applicable and build relationships with those organizations. And I think now going forward, now we've kind of built up our communication channels, we have a real opportunity to be able to keep presenting information to students regarding things like smart metering, and just keeping on track with our smart meter organizations and finding out what's happening per country to make sure that we can support those organizations and getting the messaging out there to students via our communication channels.
Thank you, Jade. So I think those were the main questions. There was a point from Dave, our panelist, who's asking, can we summarize any change in energy use among students between SAVES 1 and SAVES 2? I mean, I guess the biggest change, Dave, did you raise your hand? Do you want me to hand over to you for?
If I can put you on pause for just a second, I just wanted to add something to Jade's comments. Okay. That in some cases, in about 3 or 4 cases, we have had to negotiate with energy suppliers. So we're kind of, I would just like to say that that's been quite a convoluted process because you have so many different players, because energy companies sometimes use a third party, to provide their actual data. So we have that kind of in place where it's available, but there's a vast difference in different countries between the availability of that fine-grained energy data and people entering it by hand. That was it really. And that huge difference is what we need to, sort of work on, I would say, as we go forward.
Right, thank you for that, Dave. So your question was about the difference in energy awareness and I guess activities between SAVES 1 and SAVES 2. So we definitely built a lot of the knowledge that we gathered in SAVES 1 and input into SAVES 2. I guess some of it was covered by Rachel in that we have been very reactive to kind of where students are at and what's important to them and framing our project in those terms. So for example, even though Student Switch Off is an energy saving campaign, we have embedded it in the climate crisis, so that's kind of how all our communications are. And we have found that students react positively to that. And I think it just engages more students. So we have definitely framed our campaign in a different way. We have also changed in some of our countries our ambassador training. So we have done it more in depth and kind of added further themes to it. So themes around kind of intersectionality, impact of climate on women, on different liberation groups. And again, just thinking from a broader perspective, even though at the heart it is about energy saving, what it is that we're doing. So we have done quite a lot of different changes in how we kind of talk about the campaign. And as well, I guess in SAVES 2 compared to SAVES 1, there has been definitely much more awareness around the energy dashboard. So we have done more to get students to be aware of the energy they're consuming and looking at the dashboard compared to SAVES 1. We could already see that at the end of SAVES 1 that there was more awareness of it compared to the beginning of the project. So there has been one change. Another change, I don't know, is there anything else, Jade or Rachel or Vasilis? Actually, Vasilis, you weren't involved. Rachel or Jade?
Yeah, I think for me, I suppose this is more anecdotally from working on both projects. I've definitely found that the way that I'm engaging with students has changed from me going in and saying, did you know you should really be trying to save energy as part of this campaign, to students saying, I want to do something about climate action, I want to get involved, and like, what can I do? So it's kind of it's been the student demand, I find, has been a lot clearer, and students want to be doing more on this. And I think we've gone more from a we've been more providing information and actions to take rather than really pushing people to get involved. I feel like the willingness is there, and it's the more practical advice that is now a stronger part of our work. I found that.
I guess over the last 6 years, things have changed quite a lot in terms of climate change and energy awareness in general. So, yeah.
Definitely. Thanks for the link to the Act4Eco platform. We will definitely look at it and see if there's any way we could kind of collaborate on that. So thank you for sharing that. Probably have a couple more minutes if anybody has any more questions at this moment in time. If not, thank you very much for attending today's workshops and for joining our discussion. We hope that you found it useful to kind of hear our experience and hopefully can take some of those recommendations that we talked about. If anybody has any questions at any point, please do kind of get in touch with any of us, myself, or any of the other panelists. We'll be very happy to take those questions. The session has been recorded and we will be sharing the slides. So watch this space. We have also asked, Laura has asked to complete a short survey. So if you could, that'd be really great. So yeah, thank you very much. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day and have a really nice weekend. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.